Hello everyone, this is Paul from a luxury travel blog. Now, if you're a guest blogger on a luxury travel blog or a contributing writer or a contributor in some other capacity, the chances are you've received some instructions about how to create images for the site. Looking something like this, probably not sent you in Notepad, but perhaps in a PDF or something similar, maybe just tagged onto the end of an email. Now, this just talks you through our requirements for images, but what I particularly want to focus in on is how to create images to the correct size, which in our case is 600 pixels wide by 500 pixels tall, without creating any distortion. If you have an image that isn't that aspect ratio in the first instance, which will be the case with most images, if not almost all, then you can end up having varying degrees of distortion when you come to resize the image. Now, sometimes they'll be very noticeable, sometimes less so, but it's important for the quality of your image not to have that happen. So hence the need for these instructions. Now, you can use any image editing software. So if you've got Photoshop or if you've got Lightroom or something perhaps more obscure like Microsoft Paint or any graphics editing software at all. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm using the website that's highlighted there, Pixlr, simply because this is something that's accessible to everybody, no matter whether they're using a PC or Mac, or whether they've got a new machine or an old machine. The instructions should be the same pretty much for everyone. But by all means use your own software, but the instructions will be a little different. Anyway, just without further ado, I just want to talk you through how to create images at the right aspect ratio, at the right size and with the correct aspect ratio. So first of all, we go to this website that you see here. So I'm just going to, it's shaded already. I'm going to do Control-C to copy, and then I would be able to paste it in there, but I've actually got it here already, so I can paste it, press enter, reload the page, and you get the same thing that I had up already. So from here, we can click on Open Image from Computer, or if you've already worked on a few images, you might have a screen like this, in which case you'd need to go to File and then Open Image. I'm just going to take this top image here, let that load. So this is a picture I took a couple of weeks ago near Durdle Door on the Jurassic Coast in Dorset in the UK. So this is a relatively square image, and you'll find if I go back to the instructions, it says go to the image and then size. Go to image and then. Okay. So go to image, then image size. And here we want to make sure that this box has the tick. This is what this is referring to, constrained proportions constrained. Make sure that's ticked when you do this. If you don't, then you're going to get some horrible things happening. So it says to change the width to 600. Now you'll notice the other figures changing to just over 500. Let's go back to our instructions. Change the width to 600. If the new height is more than 500, skip this next line. Okay, so go back to the image, it's more than 500, so we can skip this next line of the instructions. Now it says select Control-A to select all. Now first I've just got to click on OK to do that resizing. And then I've got an image, it's small there, but I can just use the magnifying glass to make it larger. You can see in the corner here it says this is at 68% of size, so I can actually make it 100% so we can see what we're dealing with. Now, one thing you might have noticed is it's a little bit blurrier than it was because of the resizing, but we can come to that in a moment. So now we've got an image that's 600 wide by just over 500 high, but we want it to be 500 high. Now you could just change that 500 dimension and not constrain the proportions and you get all sorts of distortion. Instead, we want to keep the same aspect ratio. So go back to our instructions. We're skipping that line. It says Control-A to select all the image and Control-C to copy. So I'm going to do Control-A now, and you can see a dashed line has appeared. So this is the area that we've got selected. Control-C to copy that. So it's now in the clipboard. go back to our instructions, go to File, a new image, set the width to 600 and the height to 500. So File, new image, 600, and this one we want to change to 500. Click OK, go back to our instructions, press Ctrl V to paste. So I'm just going to make that a bit bigger, Ctrl V, and there we have now an image that's 600 by 500 rather than the one below that's 600 by just over 500. Now what we can do, what we've effectively done is chop off a little bit of the image at the bottom here in order to make it 500. If you, for any reason, wanted to move this particular image up a bit, you could do by just using the cursor up arrow. So you can see that if I wanted to show a bit more of the foreground, and if I do Shift and the cursor arrow, it'll move it up by even more. But beware, if you move it up too much, you'll get this white band appear, or possibly a black band. It depends what your background's set as. So I don't want to move it up that far. I don't even want a thin line like that. I want to make sure that goes completely. In fact, in my case, I don't want loads of foreground. I want that horizon to be about a third of the way down to follow the rule of thirds. But if you look carefully, I've got a white band appearing at the top now. So I've just moved it too far. I'm just going to move that back, and I'm going to settle with my image there. Now going back to the instructions, you'll see I've just done the bit that says Control V to paste. I actually changed the height of the image slightly, and now I want to select, filter, and then sharpen. You may or may not want to do this with all images, but I'll show you the difference. If you watch the image now, I'm going to do filter and sharpen, and you'll notice a subtle change, very subtle, but I think it just makes it a little bit sharper, and that's probably better. So now it's simply File, Save, and this, you've got this quality thing. Now bear in mind we want images to ideally not be more than about 150 kilobytes, so we can have it slightly higher quality than that. I often put it to around about 90, so we've got an image that's 151 there. If you have maximum quality, we end up with images that are over 0.5 megabyte, so we don't want that for the web. So we'll put it at around there. That's 141 kilobytes. Now the other thing, importantly, we don't want to just call it a name that's unhelpful. So we want a name that's not only helpful to the reader, but also helpful to search engines. So I'm going to call this something like Jurassic Coast Dorset. Click OK and save, and then that's done. Now I'm just going to do it with go through the process with one more image. Take this image here. Now this is an image, a photograph I took just last week of a seagull in Tor Bay. If you look closely, you can see a cruise ship just behind as well. Now obviously you can see this is quite a wide image. So when I go to resize this one, image size, if I set the width to 600, the height is only just over 300 pixels high, which if I go back to my instructions, you'll see, go to the change the width to 600. If the new height is more than 500, skip the next line. So it's not more than 500, so I'm not going to skip this line. Height was less than 500, set the height to 500, and the width will be greater than 600. So instead of setting the width to 600, I'm going to set the height to 500. We end up with a width that's greater than 600. I'm going to click OK. Again, I'm just going to make this a bit larger with the magnifying glass so that you can see it. And now I'm going to do the rest of the instructions I'm going to follow. So select Control A to select all, Control C to copy, and now I'm going to File, New Image, 600 wide, and we've got 500 already in as the height. OK, there's my blank canvas, and now I'm going to do Control and V to paste. Now in this particular case, I wouldn't move the image up and down because it's already 500 tall, but what I do want to do is just move the image to the left more so that you can see the whole of the berg. So we know it's more than 600 wide, so we can do that. I'm just going to do Shift and the cursor left arrow to move it in a few sections. If I don't hold the shift key down, it will just move it very gradually like that, and it's just a bit more time consuming. So shift and the left arrow, and I'm happy positioning it about there. So again, I'm going to filter, sharpen, just to make it a bit sharper. File, save for web. I'll put it at 90. And this is quite a small image because there's not many different colors. It was quite a grey day. And I'm going to save it as Seagull in Torbay. Click OK and save. And that's the tutorial complete. I hope this is helpful. As I say, it's not a difficult process, but sometimes it's quite helpful to see it visually rather than just having to read some instructions. Okay, thanks very much. Bye.